Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The class will be starting shortly. Before the class, I have a few housekeeping notes to make before we begin today's program. Kindly, please have active participation during the class. And if you don't mind, please open your camera and using the virtual background that we have shared through the committee. Thank you for your kind attention. Before we start, we have an announcement to all participants. The first, all participants are expected to fully participate in all classes during this program, and the certificate will only be given for the participants who attend all classes and complete the final project. Thus, those who are unable to attend some classes are required to substitute the attendance by, the first one is watch the material video on YouTube. The committee will share the links. And also write the resume of the material in comment sections on YouTube for each video. Thank you for your participation. Okay, so let's begin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, selamat siang from Indonesia. How are you today? To our highly respected the head of educational psychology program, Dr. Tina Hayati Dahlan, psychologist, and our lecturer, Ibu Anne Hafina, and also our eminent lecturer, Ibu Hani Yulindrasari, PhD, and the warmest greetings to all of the lecturers and participants who attend these programs today. Welcome to the 5th class of International Virtual Course 2021 with today's topic, Gender Sensitive Education. I'm Anti Wulan. On behalf of the committee, will be the host for today's class. Ladies and gentlemen, to begin our agenda, we would like to show a short video from some master students of Educational Psychology Program Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. For the committee, please play the video.
Hello, my name is Rahmat Talita and I am class of 2019. Apart from working on my thesis for the past 2 years, besides I online studying, I has been improving my skill on research and writing article in HIBA research project in here as a part of research team with other students directed by the lecturer here. In addition, I am an intern student in a mindful parenting training piloting module project. I becoming a module writer and a master of trainer, which is a cooperation between the Educational Psychology Study Program and the Southeast Asia Minister of Education Organization Center for Early Childhood Care Education and Parenting, and the Indonesian Directorate General of Early Childhood Education. So many experiences outside of classes that I found as the implementation of educational psychology with other scientific domains. One of them is, by training parents to apply mindful parenting, it can reduce the rate of child stunting and improve the nutrition of early childhood children in this advantageous area. I am delighted to be a student of educational psychology and feel confident about my future due of my studies here. Thank you and see you next time.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Frida Syafianti. I'm postgraduate student of educational psychology in Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. I'm glad to be part of educational psychology, since I have learned many things about people, about students, and about how teachers supposed to be, and it will be helpful to me, and I believe that we can do the best for our education and our generation. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Hello everyone. My name is Muhammad Khairul and I am a master's student in Educational Psychology Program, School of Postgraduate Study, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia in Bandung. I learned many things in this study. I am very happy to join in Educational Psychology. The lecture are like our parents to us. God and help us in developing self potential and always guide us to be positive person. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Shafia. I am a freshman student at UPI School of Postgraduate Educational Psychology. I really glad to be part of educational psychology program because I'm not only learn about psychology in educational perspective, but also I can gaining my confidence with participate in this event and every event in this program. And also I can be more creative because in educational psychology program, every student can make a whole content on Instagram or websites. You can check our Instagram at psikopen_sps and our site psikopen.sps.upi.edu. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you for the committee. Next, I would like to invite some participants to share their reflections of the previous class. Anyone want to share? Or should I choose? Our previous class was with Dr. Iman and also Professor Sui. Maybe anybody want to share what we have learned from the previous classes? Please, anybody?
Ulan, maybe you can ask someone.
Okay, so let me choose one of the participants. Mr. Lamin Maneh. Can you hear me? Mr. Lamin Maneh, are you with us? Or maybe the next, Mr. King Faisal. Are you here with us? Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yes, please.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I may say the past few lectures that we have gone through has been very practical, and our lecturers have been able to give us a practical application of whatever topic they have taken us through. And it has made it much more real in our lives than theoretical. And I think this is one of the elements that makes this particular course exceptional. And I may say a big thank you to the organizers and also to all our lecturers for the time and the effort they take to ensure that they give us their very best. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them all. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, one more maybe from the participants, from the domestic participants. Kang Faiz, maybe?
Sorry, can you repeat?
I would like you to share your reflection from the previous classes that we have last week with Dr. Iman and Professor Sui. What you have learned from the previous classes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Wait. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I learned so many things. For yesterday, I very happy, and I still waiting for this material because I love the gender so much. Talking about gender, and my everyone here, it's happy too, like me. Yesterday, I learned how about inclusive, and we was talk about it before in classroom, and I got many new things for that. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome, Kang Faiz. Thank you so much. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, now we move to the main agenda. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our speaker for today's class, Ibu Hani Yulindra Sari, PhD. Before we go further, allow me to read a short profile of Ibu Hani. Currently, she is the head of Crisis Assistance Study Center, and her expertise is in gender studies. She has written many academic publications which have been published in national and international journals. Some of her latest publications are Academic Anxiety During the COVID-19 Pandemic, Exploration of Contemporary Gender Constructions, Millennials Generations, and Post-Millennials Generations in Bandung, Migrant Workers' Child Perspectives on Child Care and Welfare, and Development of Gender-Sensitive Learning for Early Childhood. So without further ado, it's time for us to invite Ibu Hani Yulindra Sari to deliver the topic for today's program. Good afternoon, Ibu Hani. How are you today?
Good afternoon. I'm so sorry I have to wear mask because I'm in the public space. Right now I'm in Palu.
Okay.
How are you, Wulan?
I'm great, Ibu. Thank
Okay.
you. We are so
Good.
happy to have you today. Hopefully we can learn many things from you.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Okay, for Ibu Hani, time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Wulan. And I would like to welcome all participants in this class. And I do hope we're going to have a constructive discussion about gender in education. Without further ado, let me share my screen with you all. So, okay. Yeah, and I'm so sorry about the music background because I'm in the cafeteria of a hotel here. So with background music, I hope you cannot, the music is not disturbing you. Okay, this afternoon I will talk about gender sensitive education. And we will discuss why we have to consider or we have to put gender into perspective when we talk about education. I would like to start my presentation with my own experience as a student in 1992. I was in junior high school at that time, probably 13 years old, like 13, 14 years old. And at that time, I remember that girls and boys has separate subjects on life skills. So girls, the school taught girls to sew and then to cook. Yeah, we call it tata boga and tata busana, while boys are, they learn how to type, they learn how to assemble electronic devices and skills that that are needed for like office work, while we were girls, yeah, were taught about the domestic skills like cooking and then sewing and then decorating, something like that. I do hope that gender segregations now it's not happening again in Indonesian schools or anywhere else in the world. I do think both boys and girls need skills, life skills such as cooking, sewing. We girls also need to know how to, fix an electronic device. We need to know how to type. We need to know how to, even machinery. I think that's very important. Like nowadays, like a lot of women drive cars, and then they have to know how to change the tires. But back then in 1992, in Indonesia particularly, there were gender segregated curriculum that is, differentiate classes for boys and girls, especially for life skills classes. Beside the curriculum, beside the gender segregated curriculum, I also remember gender segregated spaces. Like these are pictures from Indonesian schools. The outdoor playing field, like in a courtyard, are usually dominated by boys, and indoor spaces are dominated by girls. And I thought at first, I thought that this kind of segregations is already no longer exists in Indonesia. But then in 2018, when my daughters moved back to Indonesia and have to go to school in Indonesia, she complained about how segregated the spaces was in her school. So the courtyard was still dominated by boys, and my daughter complained that she cannot use the courtyard. And then when I talked to the teacher, what happened, and then the teacher said that, oh, that's automatically, it happened like that. It's not by design. Girls don't like to play outdoors, so they choose indoor, and then boys like to play soccer, and then they use the courtyard. And yeah, my daughter, who are really sporty, she likes to play basketballs. When we were in Australia, she played basketball a lot, and then she kind of like lose a space to to enhance her skill in sport in Indonesia. So gender segregation at school is still happening right now in this years. Not now, because now is everybody learn from home. Okay. There's also myths, a lot of myths, gender myths in education. For example, the myth of boys are good at math and girls are good at language. I happen to know some students who are interested in looking at this for their thesis. For example, Faiz and also Aulia, I think, if she's here now. So this is actually a myth that is widely believed by the society, that boys are good at math and girls are good at language. So actually, there are a lot of research that already shown that this myth is negligible, is actually negligible. So it's not valid anymore, this myth. Okay, and then also the myth of boys like sport and girls don't do sport. This is just like what happened to my daughter when she likes basketballs, and then she demanded to be able to use the courtyard to play basketballs and to join the boys to play basketballs. She got rejected, and then when I asked the teacher, and then the teacher said that, oh, women or girls don't like sport, and it's normal for girls not to like sport, and it's very normal for boys to like sport. So the school provide sport facilities more for boys than for girls. Okay, and then also the myth of boys are active and aggressive and girls are passive. So this myth has been the underlying cause of normalization of rough play in boys. Yeah, especially early in early childhood education. Okay, why is it important to talk about gender in education? As we know, uh, if we check the sustainable development goals, the sustainable development goals even put gender equality as the fifth goals of SDGs. It means that this is very important. So it's not that it's important because it is in SDGs, but the fact that it is in SDGs shows that it is important because like we need to end all discrimination against women and girls because it is, you know, they because they are women and girls has a basic human rights that we have to respect, and it is very crucial for sustainable future. Yeah, and then it is also proven that empowering women and girls help economic growth and development. But it's not because we need economic growth then we need to talk about gender. It's not that, but you know, equality is a basic human right. So we need to consider that, and then it is very important to talk about gender equality in education because I will explain later, because education is the key to, you know, open up perspective to change the way we think about equality, about gender, and about how to treat women and girls equally to men, and to provide them opportunity to learn, to access economic resources, and to participate in development. Now I would like to show you the numbers, facts and figures about gender inequality that's happening all around the world. This is the data from UNDP. As it is shown in my slide, 77 cents. Now this is the 77 cents. It's talking about gap, gender pay gap. Yeah, women earn only 77 cents for every dollar that men get from the same work. It in Indonesia, for like a government officer, it's not very obvious the gender pay gap. But if we look at other sectors, we can see that the gap is very wide. For example, like for equal hour of work of assistants, like domestic assistant, and equal hour of work construction worker, the payment gap, the pay gap is very wide. Like a construction worker will be paid around $10 in Indonesia. Like if we talk about, because there are international participants in this meeting, so let me convert it into dollars. So for one day, a construction worker, a male construction worker, can get $10, 10 US dollars per day, while domestic workers only get half of it. And the half is already good, like, you know, $5 per day. So for equal hours of work, yeah. And then 35% of women have experienced physical and or sexual violence, and then not not every sexual violence, you know, incidents is reported. Not every woman who experience these incidents get, you know, rehabilitation or, have necessary services, necessary care that they need. And then women only represents 13% of agricultural landholders. This is all around the world, okay? And then almost 750 million women and girls alive today were married before their 18th birthdays. In Indonesia, it is only recently that the government agree that the minimum age of marriage in Indonesia is 18. Before 2020, the government still allow girls who were only 16 to get married. Now the law already forbid marriage before 18th, but still the law still, we can negotiate with the law, and then we have to go to, young girls can still be married, can still get married before 18 if they have the permission from the court. Okay, and then 2/3 of developing countries have achieved gender parity in primary education. So only 2/3 of developing countries who have achieved gender parity in primary education. Thankfully, Indonesia is one of them. So Indonesia has already reached gender equality in terms of participation in primary education. Okay, next, this is women and politics. Only 24% of national parliamentarians were women as of November 2018. There are small increase from only 11.3% in 1995. This is all over the world. How about Indonesia? Indonesia, I think women in parliaments, it's only now only 17%, even though I have to be grateful that now Indonesia have many female minister. We also have female mayors. We also have female CEO in an oil company. Okay, we have to understand all the segregation in education, all gender segregation in education, gender gap, gender inequality started from the misunderstanding about sex and gender. The common understanding about sex is that sex is also gender, that if you are a human with vagina, then you are a woman, and then you have the roles, social roles as women. And then common understanding is that these gender roles are innate, and it's like given by God, and it's like prescribed by God. But actually, we have to understand that gender is very different with sex. Gender role is a social construction. It is constructed by culture, beliefs, their religious beliefs, also constructed by class and race. So we have to understand that the gender roles that is prescribed by the society is not fixed. It is more fluid. I mean, what I mean by fluid is it is interchangeable. You can, today, for example, I'm a single mom, so I'm a breadwinner as well. It means that the traditional construction of breadwinner as usually husband is not, it's not applied to me. It means that it's not fixed. That role is not fixed. It is interchangeable. Even if I still have my husband can take care of my kids, my children when I have to go when I have to be away for a while, like today, I'm in Palu, not in Bandung. So also, the domestic chores is not women's roles. It is, everybody roles, everybody's responsibility who lives in that house. We are all live in the same house, so we are responsible for everything that's happening in the house, and then we have to together clean the house. We have to together provide for food and things like that. It is interchangeable. And also gender is changing from time to time. It is quite impossible for my mom, for example, to go abroad to have her PhD, because in the time when my mom was my age, it's the gender construction is very much very much strict, and then she will get a lot of social sanction if for example she went abroad to get her PhD, even though some women of my mom's age did went abroad and then get PhD, but then now it is easier for us, for women, to reach our dreams. And now we can see how men also change. They have men also, so many men has a very egalitarian worldview, and so many men wants their wife to be able also to fulfill their dreams. So it is changing from time to time. So if we talk about gender 100 years ago, it's going to be different when if we talk about gender today. Gender today is different from gender, for example, like 50 years ago or 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago. And gender is also different across cultures and places because it is a social construction, and culture, religions, and then also like social dynamics is also part of the construction of gender. That is why it is different from culture to culture. Okay, but we tend to have this gender stereotype that is very, very entrenched in our mind, and we think that this gender stereotypes is true. We think that this is the truth, but actually it is a stereotype, which is, if we define stereotype, is something that it's something that we believe is true, but it's actually can be wrong, and it's mostly it's not true. So there are gender stereotypes for men and women. We usually divide it into categories of masculine and feminine. Masculine are gender stereotype for men, and feminine are gender stereotype for girls. But actually, masculine and feminine, if we if we read again, masculine and feminine is actually not only, like, for example, masculine is not only for men, but women can also be masculine, and feminine also is not only for women. A man can also be feminine. Masculine and feminine, we can see it as a what they call it, like signifier or of this is going to be a very different discussion. Sorry, I'm talking too far about masculine and feminine. Okay, what I want to say in this in this slide is that gender stereotype is classified into two, masculine and feminine. If we talk about mainstream, masculine is for men, usually for men, and feminine usually for women. So I divided into three points here. There are roles, masculine roles, and then traits and characteristic, and then expressions. So for masculine roles, it's productive roles, yeah, the roles of, earning money, breadwinning, and then politics roles like, public policy, decided something for, not for himself or herself, but for larger society. And then the traits and characteristic of masculine is usually associated with strong, brave, rational, active, aggressive. The expression is firm, like, very looking sharp and looking a bit unfriendly. And then feminine, reproductive roles, social roles, it's associated to women. And then the traits and character is caring, self-emotional, sensitive, empathic, and the expression usually they associate softness to feminine character. So what's wrong with gender stereotype? Gender stereotype is shaping gender beliefs. Sometimes if we have unequal gender beliefs, it's in that we easily judge, very very easy to judge people based on stereotypes. And then it can also become social norm. When it becomes social norm, it seems to be like everybody has to follow that norms, and if someone cannot follow that norms, then it's very easy that we pathologize them and then think of them as abnormal. And then also it creates social expectancy. Sometimes the expectancy is unrealistic. So for example, a mom is required to be will always be there for the kids, for example, because child rearing is women's role. That's the expectancy. That's the social expectancy of a mom. But then again, some mom like me, single mother, we cannot be there for the kids all the time because we have to work. So we cannot follow the social expectancy. But not following social expectancy creates some, unequal judgment, creates stigma. So that's what's wrong with gender stereotype. And then also sexism. Sexism also happened because of gender stereotype. Like the story that I told you before in the first slide, when there are gender segregated classes, it's actually sexism that is institutionalized by the curriculums. And then sex-based discrimination. The first example also show the gender-based, sex-based discrimination. So, okay, you are a female, then you go to cooking class. You cannot go to the electronic class because you are a female, because you have a vagina, and then you go to the cooking class because that's what you need. So we cannot choose at that time. I cannot choose to go to the other class because I'm a female. I have to learn how to cook. Okay. And then gender-based discrimination. Gender-based discrimination is not the same with sex-based discrimination. Sex-based discrimination is discrimination based on the body, based on the genitalia of an individual. But gender-based discrimination is based on the roles. Based on roles. For example, because I'm a woman, I have to take care of my children, and then people will think, oh, Hani cannot go on field work to another cities or cannot go abroad for field work because she has to take care of her baby. So let us ask someone, some men, to go for a field work. That's gender-based discrimination. Okay, that's for example. So all of these gender stereotypes live and internalize in our mind through a mechanism of, a mechanism of self-fulfilling prophecy. So every one of us is socialized by certain gender construction from the beginning of our lives. From the day we were born, we are socialized by our parents that we are what we are based on our sex, based on our genitalia. And then this information of socialization from the parents, all gender information will be, internalized by us in our gender schema that consists of beliefs, societal beliefs, and expectation about gender. And that gender schema will determine how we act and how we respond to gender stimulus. And then the way we respond gender stimulus will enhance the beliefs that what we do and what we say is really based on our gender. So the stereotype become more and more stronger. And sometimes if we already internalize the non-equal or non-egalitarian gender beliefs, it is very easy for us to do discrimination, to discriminate people based on their sex. So this is go around and round, and then we do something based on our beliefs or based on our gender belief, based on our gender schema, and then people will see it as innate gender characteristic that we have. And then people will respond to it as, as gender natural, what do you call it, behavior. And then it will enhance again our gender schema, and then it will go round and round, and it's become stronger and stronger. So here I would like to maybe open up a little bit that our understanding about gender is really caused by our cognitive schema about gender, which is constructed based on our understanding about gender experience, about our own gender experience, whether it is with ourselves or with others. And then the cognitive schema is influencing our attitude to gender. And then again, gender schema will create and be created by gender stereotype. And then, so gender schema is not only created by gender stereotype, but it itself creates gender stereotype. So it's, as I said, it's go around and around. Okay, why do we need to talk about gender in education? Because there are many research shows that school is a site to preserve. Sorry, I don't know. It's like, how can I get rid of it? So a school is a site to preserve, challenge, and negotiate the dominant gender stereotype. It is not only in the written curriculum, but also in the hidden curriculum. As you can see in this picture, schools can be a place to preserve gender stereotype by these are uniform for primary education in Indonesia. As you can see, boys using shorts and girls using skirt. this uniform is influencing the way they move. Girls cannot move freely with the skirt. I will show you a video about how girls very much hinder by the dress that she wore in doing motoric activities. We can see here in the right side, there's a picture of boys and girls playing together in the field. The girls wearing pants and boys also wearing pants, and they together play soccer. This is how schools can challenge gender stereotype. So schools is a site for everything, preserving gender and then challenging it and then negotiating it. So there are a lot of things happening at school. Yeah, even though we don't, put it in the written curriculum, but it's there in hidden curriculum. Okay, this is one of the proof or evidence that I get from my research about how school can become a place to preserve gender stereotype. So my research was about male teachers in early childhood education. And then I found out that the male teachers in ECE are expected to teach boys to be boys. And then this is the quote from the interview. I have a boy in my class who has a feminine characteristic, especially his gesture. He is different from other boys. Other boys would just be silent and calm down when they upset. He did the gesture, frowning expression, and blah blah blah. And this particular boy whines. So he said the boy whined like a girl. Yeah, he did the gesture, moving in and out his arm, body, and head, like the gesture that in Indonesia associated with the feminine characteristic. So this boy whined like a girl. So if his parents were worried. My partner, a female teacher, was also worried. My partner asked me whether I could do something about it. Then I tried to talk to the boy, of course, not in front of other children. I took him out of the class and talked to him. If you have a problem, try not to shout. Try not to cry. Just calm down, take a deep breath. If you have a problem with your toys, your drink spilled, look, don't shout, take a look and fix it. If you can't do it, ask for Mrs. Help. And don't make a sound and try not to move. And then I asked him why do you say that to the boy? Well, at least I can prevent the boy from swaying around like feminine gesture. I can teach the boy how to just stay still, like stiff, like strong when there's a problem. So the teacher, the male teacher, are expected to teach boys how to be boys. This is another example that I want to show you about how the dress or how the clothes that the children wear very disturbing or not hindering the process of motoric learning in girls. So this is boys, playing, kita bilang main karet ya. And then after the boys' turn, and then become the girls' turn. See, it's not easy for the girls because she wears skirt. Yes. See this girl, how it is very difficult for her. It's not because she cannot do it, but it's because she wear clothes that is not freeing her. Okay. Yeah, we can see how difficult it is for the girl to do the, I don't know what you call it in English, but we call it apa nih, permainan loncat lompat tali ya. It's quite easy for the boys because of the clothes, because of the pants. But it's difficult for girls because girl has to do it in a skirt. I don't know whether I can do it either if I have to wear a skirt doing that. So this is example that happening in the field of how gender is missing from our consideration when we design learning, how gender is missing in teachers mind when they plan this learning activity. But school can be also a place to challenge gender stereotype. So this is one of example from also from my field work. I interview a male teacher and then he said, I didn't have a good nurturing sense before working with children. It just didn't work. I had an intention to teach way before I worked in EC. I often played school. Maybe it was because my father often took me to his class, but I did not have any nurturing sense. He meant before he teach children. It has just recently worked his nurturing sense. I have become caring to others, not only to children, but also to adults. So this is how a school, an interaction with children at school can change someone masculinities, can change a man's masculinities. So his masculinity changed to be more caring masculinity because he work, because he teach at school and interact with a lot of children. So this is what he said. This is the evidence that school can also challenge gender stereotype. What is the purpose of talking about gender or putting gender into our consideration when we talk about education? The goal is actually to create a just society. It's for social justice. We want everybody in our society has equal opportunity to develop themselves. And what we can do is we can, or we help uh, we help them how to reach the potentials, how to get rid of or minimizing the obstacle that come from the structure, from the social structure. So in education, we have opportunity to change people's perspective about gender. We have opportunity to open people's eyes about obstacles that that girls face in education, so that they don't have achievement as good as boys. Or we 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 also have to open our eyes of the possibilities that boys as well has obstacles in reaching their potentials because of gender stereotype. For example, I have a friend who really like to sew, who really like to, what do you call it, like, wave, like, making something from threads. I don't know what you call it in English. Kalau di Indonesia itu merajut, ya. And he is a boy, and it's very hard for him to you know to be himself, because what he wants to do is not in line with the social expectation of him as a boy. Okay. Wait, where is it? Okay. So what is gender sensitive education, or how can we do this gender sensitive or responsive education? We have to do more research about gender in education. We have to identify the needs and obstacles of boys and girls in education from a gender perspective. We have to examine gender stereotype, and we need to deconstruct them. If we think that if we think that deconstructing them will open up opportunity for boys and girls to develop their potential fully, and also to be able to participate in the development in a more equal way. And also gender responsive infrastructure. We need gender responsive infrastructure. We need a policymaker to think about it. We need a courtyard not only for boys, but we need also courtyard that can be accessed by girls. And then the toilet as well. We have to think about the toilet, what kind of toilet that is more practical and appropriate for female, for girls, and for boys. Where the toilet should be, and then how many toilets do we need to have, including what do we need in the toilet to be like. And then activity corners, we have to think whether the activity corners is accessed by both boys and girls. If it's only accessed by boys, maybe we can create another activity corners for, for the girls to access, or we can also encourage the boys and girls to use the activity corners together to share the space. And then we have to think about the hygiene needs of boys and girls in or at school. We also need to increase gender awareness of the educators and other practitioners in education, so that they can put gender into consideration in their planning, in their educational planning, when they plan the learning activities, when they plan the book that they're gonna use, when they plan the activities, and other learning related activities. And then we need to create a gender responsive learning. So gender responsive learning is about equal opportunity and equity. It means that we need to know the specific needs of girls, specific needs of boys, and we have to be responsive. We have to respond to that specific needs. Gender sensitive education is not making the differences between boys and girls become the same, or gender responsive learning is not denying the differences between boys and girls, but also it is not making what is actually the same become different. So it's like gender responsive learning is putting everything into an into equal perspective, into like if a girl need more time to be in the toilet than the boys, then girls should have more toilet than boys, so they don't miss some they don't miss learning time. For example, if we have uh, recess, the recess is only 15 minutes, let's say, and then the boys need to go to the toilet. The boys only spend 1 or 2 minutes in the toilet, while girls have to spend 5 minutes in the toilet. You can imagine if the number of toilet between boys and girls are the same, then there are more queue in the female toilet or girls toilet than boys. And then by the time the recess finish, after 15 minutes, the boys can go straight to the class and following the lecture again, following the learning activities again, while some girls are still stuck in the toilet queuing because we don't provide enough toilet for them. That's only an example. And then of course we need budgeting. We need budget that is gender responsive. We need to know the needs of girls and boys, and then we have to have budget to fix that and to fulfill that needs of girls and boys at school. So this is another example of how school can be, can challenge gender stereotype.
This afternoon, we're going to draw people doing different jobs. And the first job we're going to draw is firefighter. Have a think in your head what a firefighter looks like. What's your firefighter called?
Mine's called Firefighter Gary. Firefighter Stan. Firefighter Simon. He's big and strong. He's got a big helmet on.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Next, we're going to draw a surgeon. Have you thought of a name for your surgeon?
Jimbo.
Jimbo.
He's a brain surgeon. I think he regrets. He gives you medicine. That's his ambulance.
Okay, next, we're going to draw a fighter pilot.
This is his jet plane. He rescues people. He likes to do stunts in the air and stuff.
Okay, now, who would like to meet these people for real? My name's Tamsin and I'm a surgeon in the NHS.
My name's Lauren and I'm a pilot in the Royal Air Force.
My name's Lucy, I'm a firefighter in the London Fire Brigade. So who wants to know how to do an operation? Try my stethoscope.
We put this in here.
There you go. Now you're a proper fight pilot.
That's it, into your ears. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
It's really good. But yeah, it's much better than my kids' one.
Okay, this is the example how school, learning activity can challenge gender stereotype, and then I think that's what we need to do at schools. So gender stereotype can be we can change the stereotype. Okay, this is I already reached the end of my presentation. So my concluding remarks is that education is key in creating an equal and just society. Both boys and girls should be able to reach their full potentials. And education should be able to deconstruct gender stereotypes to create a more fair, just, and non-discriminatory society. And educators have also the power to preserve or challenge restricting gender norms And I think as an educator, it is my obligation, it is my, it is my obligation to challenge restricting gender norms so we can create a more just society. Thank you very much. That's my presentation, and I will give my time back to, who's the moderator again? Wulan.
Yes. Thank you, Ibu Hani.
Okay.
Thank you very
Time is
much.
yours. Thank you, Wulan.
You're welcome, Ibu. Thank you very much, Ibu Hani, for sharing us your knowledge. That was a very interesting presentation.
I hope it's
believe-
quite clear, yeah, Wulan, because I wear mask. I hope it's not disturbing.
It's really clear, Ibu.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, actually, we have some questions in the chat box. Can we just go directly to the questions, Ibu?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so the first is from Mr. Hassan. It's not question, actually, it's an additional info from him. According to the latest government of Somalia figures, 34% of Somali girls are married before they reach 18, and 16% of them before their 15th birthday. That's the condition, I think, in Somalia about this.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Mr. Hassan.
Would you like to add some more, Mr. Hassan? Or you have something to discuss?
Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Really, that is my additionally, that Somali context. Here is there is less education. The girl is, it is a mindset of the girl is to marry early time. Also, they marry 14, 15. There is less education for girls. In this modern world, they begin step by step to study, but very low education. That is the culture of Somalia. The problem is from the Somali elders, traditional culture, because they believe that the girls only can prepare foods and the houses. They work in the house only. But now they are, you see many girls are going to school after more awareness to the community and going to universities, but the mindset, the former mindset is still remaining, but it is reduced for.
Okay.
After more research and more awareness from the community and international communities. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hassan. And then we move to the next question. It is from Professor Pam Raburu from Kenya. Good morning or afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Ibu Hani, for bringing out this real experience. Okay. Maybe Professor Pam Raburu, do you want to add some more information or do you have something to discuss?
I just want to say my appreciation to Dr. Hani for that great presentation, bringing a lot of. Hi, Hani.
Hi, Professor Pam. It's a
How are you?
very good friend of mine. I'm fine. I'm good.
Memories of being at your university there in 2011.
Yeah, we are planning to invite you again, actually. I would like to introduce you in this forum to Dr. Tina as the head
And
of educational psychology, that we will plan ahead of inviting you to be with us again, whether it's online or like physically coming to Indonesia.
It will be my pleasure, and I have a lot of attachment and greetings from my university here, Jaramogi. You drew a lot of insight into incorporating boys, the gender stereotypes, and what other things would be done. So my question was just, it could be a discussion. What are how best can we as schools, universities, communities, deconstruct this? Because we have been doing a lot of awareness, a lot of efforts I know are being done.
Yeah.
But there are still situations where you see, so we just need to go a few miles ahead. So just a few tips we could share. It could be a discussion, you could be a contribution. What are some of the things that we can do, strategies, just to incorporate this and make better steps ahead of where we are now? Thank you very much, Hani. My appreciation goes to you and the team, and my regards to the university as you get back there after this.
Thank you so much, Professor Pam. Okay, Wulan, can I answer it or?
Yes, Ibu. Thank you, Professor Pam.
Please.
Actually, we have the question here in the chat box. How can schools, governments, universities, parents deconstruct gender stereotypes?
Yeah,
Please,
that's
Ibu.
okay. So this is my proposal. My proposal is not well, ideally we go like from so many directions, from the policy and then also the implementation on the grassroots, on the school level. But my proposal is more practical. My proposal is to do activities that can show the students that gender stereotype doesn't mean anything. For example, like we see on the picture, we let girls and boys to play soccer together. So that can be a start. It's from activity level. It's from the bottom, and then we'll go up. And we create activities that are, shared by men, by boys and girls. Cooking class, for example, cooking class together, and then we also create in traditionally in Indonesia, sport is done separately, girls playing sport with girls, boys playing sport with boys. I would suggest a mixed play. And then also from books, it's been 3 years. I had a research, a 3 years research. It's already finalized, the research actually. So I did it with Dr. Vina from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, from the same university as me. We developed books for early childhood education. Who introduced that book? Introduce egalitarian perspective. So we introduce a new or a variation of family structures. Traditionally, families always like father, mother, and children. In the book, we introduce, it's a picture book, a picture book for children. We introduce how there are families with no dads, like single parents families, like only mom and then the kids. And also there's family with dad and kids, but no moms. And then their family with grandparents with the kids, with the grandchildren, but there's no mom and dad, because there are a lot of families in Indonesia which is like that. The mom and dad are going abroad to work, and then they leave the children at home with the grandparents. And then also we introduce occupation that are non-traditional. Like in the book, we introduce a dad who worked as a hairdresser in a beauty salon, and then we introduce a dad who worked as early childhood education teachers. We also introduce how a mom can also work in a field that is very masculine, such as engineering field, like constructions, and a mom can also be surgeons, and also other occupation that are stereotypically dominated by male. So I would propose we deconstruct gender stereotype from the bottom up. How can we introduce this? I would suggest us academics to go to schools, talk to children, and provide them with learning plan. With learning plan that is very practical for the teacher to do. We don't have to talk about the gender perspective at first because it's confusing. We do something very practical after they do it, and then we can talk to them about changing their gender perspective. It is very hard and it is very a slow process, but I think it's quite effective in changing the practice of education and also the perspective after we do the practice. So that's my proposal. I don't know whether you agree with me or not, or you may probably in the audience also have different proposal or different ideas of how to deconstruct gender stereotypes at school. I think we can also start from uniforms. Change the uniforms. Let the kids, let the students choose what uniform they want to wear, whether it's skirt or pants. Let them choose, for example. Okay. Wulan?
Okay, thank you, Ibu Hani. How is it, Professor Pam? Do you have?
I was just writing that I really agree with the practical aspects that Annie is suggesting. And I was just giving my examples that I have a saloonist who is a man, and sometimes you find the work is very, it's done perfectly. I also have another lady who is also a saloonist, but she even does the hair for the men, shaving. And I think if you go that way, even the cooking, the best cooks in our big hotels are actually men. So I think if we start it from that early stage and with the policymakers and ourselves involved, I think we are going to go a great way. Thank you very much, Hanny, for this.
Thank you, Professor Pam. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Pam. Okay, it seems like the book is very interesting, ya, Ibu.
Yeah, you can access the book. We still have a lot of copy of the book.
Okay, thank you. Maybe the other participants, if you want to ask, you can activate your raise hand feature, or you can directly write your question in the chat box. Now we have another question, Ibu.
Yes, please.
From Mr. Adama Konate. What are the factors determining gender stereotypes? Mr. Adama, maybe you want to add some more information regarding to your question. Mr. Adama? We still cannot hear you.
It's still muted.
You need to unmute first. Yes, Mr. Adama? Okay. Yes, please, Mr. Adama. Okay.
Okay, maybe, okay, Mr. Adama, are you on?
You have unmute yourself. Now you can talk maybe. How is it?
Okay, maybe I can just answer, Wulan.
Okay. Okay, please, Ibu.
Because I think the question is already very clear. What are the factors determining gender stereotypes? Well, gender stereotypes, what determines gender stereotype? That's a lot of things. One of the things is religious teaching and culture. And also, you know, our experience with the social group, the experience with social group. And then, for example, I have an experience of talking to someone from Kenya, like Professor Pam, and I have a very pleasant experience interacting with Professor Pam, and then and I interact with her one and then twice, and then I meet someone else from Kenya who is very friendly also, and then I also have pleasant experience from them, and then I will take generalization that, oh, people from Kenya, they are friendly, they are always friendly. So I create a stereotype because I take conclusions and generalize my small amount of experience with Kenyan to the rest of the populations. So that's how gender stereotype happen as well. So for example, if I happen to have experience of being heartbroken by a man, like once experience, and then second times, and then third times, and then I will generalize that men always, you know, create heartbreak, always create, you know, heartache. And then I create and I generalize that to the rest of men populations. So that's what happened with gender stereotype. So the stereotype can be from the teaching of religion, religious teaching, and then the process is that we understand female from religious perspective as, for example, docile, for example. And then we see a woman who is docile. We see the woman who is docile once, twice, three times, and then we justify it. Oh yes, women are docile. So we justify that. So gender stereotype becomes strengthened by our experience and also culture. In Sundanese, I am Sundanese. In Sundanese, we have a certain way of sitting. You know, a female or a woman has to sit in a certain ways. That's the rule of the culture. And then from that, you know, stylized sensations, like, you know, what do you call it? I'm sorry, my English it's very difficult word to say. But, you know, the gesture that is imposed to us to be done again and again and again, it will make our body automatically doing that. So I have a embodiment of, you know, like a certain way of female or feminine embodiment of Sundanese, like this. Like I always bend my body when I move past other people, because I'm a Sundanese, and I always sit certain ways, you know, as the culture told me. And then that culture will, people who see me will think that, oh, Hani is very, like, what do you call it? Very, very polite, or very, apa ya, kalau bukan polite is, what I want to say is more than polite. So very more than polite. So extremely polite because of my embodiment. And then other people see another Sundanese like me, and then see again another Sundanese like me, and then it will become a stereotype that Sundanese is like that. But actually, like in every category, every social category, in every social group, there are variation. There are variation that may not follow the stereotypes. And most of the time, actually, stereotypes is only stereotypes, like, because variation within social group is very, very high in every group. So that's the determining factor of gender stereotype as well. And also, if we learn about psychology, it's a tendency in people, in human or in individual, to have the cognitive bias, what we call cognitive miser. We tend to take conclusion, we tend to make very easy conclusion about something based on little information that we have, because that's when we do that, less energy that we need. We don't have to think when we do generalization. Okay, I think that's the determining factors that I can share with you. Maybe someone else can add something. It's very, very, I am very open to more comments.
Okay. Anybody, please, if you want to share your thoughts about this, we please you. Is there anybody? Anyone who wants to share? Okay, seems like there's nobody, Bu.
Okay.
Can we move to the next question? Okay, the next question is from Mr. Muazzu Abba Jabir. How would gender stereotype could be catered for effectively in Islamic-oriented schools, especially in Muslim-dominated society?
Okay. Can I read the questions? Where is it?
Okay, it's about.
Oh yeah. How would gender stereotype could be catered for effectively in Islamic oriented schools, especially in Muslim dominated society? Okay, the way we challenge gender stereotype can be, we cannot be very frontal sometimes in Islamic school. We have to be very subtle, so we have to negotiate a lot, and then we do something that's more important than the thing that we think that's, oh, okay, we can wait about this one, but we cannot wait about this one. So we negotiate with the teaching, the Islamic teaching. We negotiate. How can we negotiate? I give you example. For example, it is okay, like in Islamic schools, some Islamic school, they don't accept the mixed classes. Okay, like they don't accept mixed classes. They accept only like girl classes and boys classes. I don't think we have to change that. We go along with that. We still have separate classes for women and for men, for girls and for boys, but we can give them the same learning material, the same learning experience gitu. And then we can give them that. For example, in the boy classes, they teach soccer, and we can teach soccer as well in female classes, female with female, boys with boys. And then, for example, other things about clothing. About clothing in Indonesia is very strict rules of, Muslim wear, Muslim outfit. At school, the woman has to wear like long skirt and the man has to wear long pants, of course. But we can change the outfit not into long pants for girls, but we have this kind of culot. We call it culot, but it's what do you call it in English? It's not skirt, but it's skirt. A skirt. A skirt. So it's like a skirt, but it's actually a pants. So it's not shaping the body of the woman, of the girls, but it's like a pants. So the woman, the girls can move around very freely with the outfit that is still in line with Islamic teaching. And other thing, we can show examples of how female Islamic figures like like Khadijah and then Aisha also have this power in the society, have agency in the society. We can use that to cater the gender stereotypes. And we use example that comes from the Islamic world itself. Yeah, that's my proposal, I think. I don't know whether it's useful or not, but yeah, that's also what happened in our country, in Indonesia. In Indonesia, we do a lot of negotiations because like we have this athletes of wall climbing athlete who is girls and also a Muslim, and they do the sport with Islamic outfit. So in Indonesia, we do a lot of negotiation of how to be empowered as a woman, how to be how to have gender equality, but at the same time not forgetting the teaching from our religions. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Hani, for the answer. Any other questions, maybe, from the participants? You can raise your hand virtually, of course.
Question from Indonesia, probably. Yes.
From domestic participants. Anybody? Okay, we have another question in the chat box, Ibu, from Mr. Hassan. How do girls learn best? Thanks. Simple questions.
It's not simple. This is very hard. It is hard questions because there's no particular answer, because girls also have variation of learning style, and also girls is not a singular category. It's very, very plural category. So my way of learning is different from Wulan's way of learning. Even though we are both females, we learn differently. So it's a simple question, but it's not easy to answer. I think the same for boys. There are no way of, how boys learn best, because boys category is also plural. There are very high variation of learning style within boys category and within girls category as well. Sarah want to share her experience. I think it's good to hear from her.
Okay, Miss Sarah, please, you can open your mic.
Okay, but sorry, I can't show the camera here because in here it's really have a bad weather. It's really heavy rain. I'm sorry. So I was an alumni from Muslim school since I was elementary until I was high school. So I find many difference between girls and boys. We not allowed to interact each other especially in my junior high because teachers say it's not in Islam it's not really acceptable to boys and girls have interaction between both of gender, between opposite gender. So we have to separate ourselves around 5 meters. I'm not kidding. It's not
Social
5 meters.
distancing, yeah, like
Yeah.
COVID-19.
Yes, distancing like that. And the girls must have wearing hijab, like super long hijab. It's make us really hard to freely movement gitu. Like but still we have a sport outwear too, but wear pants. And one of teacher really argue about that. Argue why we can wear a skirt. I mean like rok celana lah in Indonesian gitu. The
Yes,
skirt type that is we have pants in there gitu. So in my school now gitu, in my school because I am alumni, for the outfit for the sport we use that rok celana of course to make sure all the girls, all of them make a super long hijab and have a skirt because in Indonesia is kalau misalkan pakai rok itu tuh kayak ini apa sih, emang udah kewajiban cewek tuh pakai rok, pokoknya cowok gak boleh menyerupai laki-laki gitu. It means that girls doesn't allow to wear pants because it look like a boy. That's all I learned about my experience in school.
Okay, thank you, Miss Sarah, for sharing your experience. What about the other participants? Any other questions or maybe sharing?
Maybe can I comment on Sarah experience, Bulan?
Okay, please, Ibu.
Okay, Sarah experience shows how in practical level the negotiation of gender stereotypes happen, of gender expectation happen. So Sarah, all the girls in Sarah's school are expected to wear skirt, but then they negotiated and they still wear skirt but they wear pants inside, or they wear skirt, which is, it looks like skirt, but it's actually pants. So this is a very, very real example of how the negotiation of gender and social expectation happen in Islamic school. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, thank you, Ibu and Sarah. Any other questions, maybe? Or anybody wants to add some more information or maybe sharing experience about gender stereotypes? Or maybe about the other issue related to gender? Anyone? No more questions?
I hope it's not because it's too confusing, yeah, Wulan. Or
It's very
because
clear.
my language, because it's unclear.
I think it's very interesting, Ibu. It has brought up so many questions so far, and also sharing experience from some participants.
Oh, that's a question that's someone raising hands.
Kang Agung is raising hand. Please, Kang Agung.
Okay, thank you, Auntie Wulan. I don't have any question, but I would like share my experience. Is it okay?
It's okay, please.
Okay. I had an experience in high school. A sport teacher said to me, for example, you are a boy, so you have to be strong. If you are told to run a lap, if you cannot, it means you are not a boy. So please open your pants. I want look your I want look your
genitalia.
Yes, genitalia. It is social harassment or not, Ibu? Thank you.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to share my experience. It is simple, but it's hard for me. Thank you.
Okay. Any comments, maybe, Ibu?
Thank you so much, Agung, for sharing. It is very hard to share something like this. What you experience was actually sexual harassment, and also it's also an example of how a teacher can perpetuate preserving gender stereotypes, and also through harassment like that. It's very, I'm very sorry to hear that, but what you experience is not very uncommon. It is common for boys to experience that in in a context of schools or education. The male teacher think that they know how it means, how to be boys, how to be a man. They think that they know, that, but they don't really know. And I'm sorry, I'm really sorry to hear this, but yeah, my field work shows that something like this very often happen to boys. Boys get pressure to be masculine enough. Boys are pressured to follow masculine roles, hegemonic masculinity. And this is a problem that we have to tackle in our society, because something like this will create a fragile masculinity in boys, and then this fragile masculinity can be toxic for the boys and also for the girls. If we have time in the next session, or maybe next opportunity, we can talk about masculinity in education, masculinity at schools, and how boys are exposed to pressure of following hegemonic masculinity up to the point of breaking their self-esteem as an individuals, up to the point that they have a fragile masculinity and they are insecure of their masculinity, not because they are not masculine, but because the social pressure that they receive from the teachers and also the peers. Okay, Agung, I hope you understand that your experience doesn't define you as a man. You are still a man. You are still a masculine man, and worthy, very worthy. Thank you so much for sharing, Agung. Teh Wulan.
Thank you, Kang Agung and Ibu. Now can we move to the next question?
Yes, please.
Okay, the next question is from Mr. Muazu Abba Jabir. Is invariant complex usually attached to female psychological construct or is due to the societal gender stereotype? And what is the best way to reduce it in female students as it affects their performance negatively?
Well, thank you so much for very important questions, Mr. Muazu. I think every inferiority complex comes from societal expectations that we think or we perceive as unaddressed or we cannot follow. So it's not only inferiority complex in girls, but also in boys, in everybody. I think it's the cause of it is because of the perceived societal expectation of us. If we see how how gender stereotype play role in this creation of inferiority complex. For girls, usually the stereotypes expecting them to look pretty, to be passive, to be beautiful, to have it's all physical, very, very physical. While expectation of boys usually you have to be number one, you have to be strong physically, you have to be clever, more clever than girls, you have to be able to earn a lot of money, and a lot of societal expectation and gender stereotype that is unrealistic. The inferiority complex is not a psychological construct, it's not a psychological trait. We are not born with inferiority complex, but we become we have one because of these social expectation, which is unrealistic for us to follow. It's the same for girls and boys. So how can we reduce it? I usually use a listening technique. Just listen to probably my student or my children or my daughters, and listen to them, listen to their insecurity, and try to what do you call, decipher it, and try to unpack the insecurity that they are feeling and the inferiority that they are feeling, and then we brought up this subjective inferiority to to something more objective, like letting them hearing what people say about them. Sometimes we become inferior because we think about ourselves negatively, because we are ourselves too judgmental to us, to ourselves. While actually people are not that judgmental, but we judge ourselves. So it's like my word for this is like self-stigmatizing. I don't know, I'm not a clinical psychologist. Butina is clinical psychologist. I think Butina can explain more about this inferiority complex. I see it from the perspective of social psychology, how the social expectation really influence the way we think about ourselves. But the social expectation is actually some abstract. It's abstract. It's not necessarily that other people think like that about us. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Hani. Maybe Ibu Tina, do you want to add some more information?
Okay, thank you, Bu Hani and Brother Muazu, right? Yeah. Yeah, discussing about inferiority complex, I think it is what I learned is from the concept of Adler. Is that correct, Muazu? What you mean is the concept of inferiority complex, that somebody or a person use the inferiority or weaknesses of themselves to hide the superiority feeling of others. Yeah, I saw that, or I experienced sometimes the female use the weaknesses to show, to hide the superiority feeling of the male. For example, it is hard for me to bring the large bag. Could you help me? Yeah, some kind like that. And then for other example, that I am a girl, so I cannot do that. I think it is the best task for a boy only. So that's why I think it may be constructed by social construction, or maybe it's constructed by the perception of themselves. Yeah, sometimes women see that I can use my weaknesses to hide my manipulation or manipulation feeling of others, and others could be boys or girls. That's my opinion, maybe. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Tina. Okay. How is it, Mr. Muazu? Does it answer your question? Or is it clear enough? Okay, I think it's already clear for Mr. Muazu. Okay, so next we have invitation, I think, here from Professor Pam about a conference. Maybe for the other participants, you can check the chat box and please contact Professor Pam for the further information about this conference later. Okay, Professor Pam, do you want to say something?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. My colleague who works at the University of Nairobi, called Dr. Anna, says she attended the whole presentation, but she had to attend another meeting. So we extend this invitation. It's a virtual conference, and a lot of it, victimology, is very relevant to the gender conference, just like even what Dr. Hani has just talked about. Is what triggered her mind to remind me that this is very suitable for the conference, because we are even talking about gender stereotypes. Girls and boys are victims of stereotypes. We could be victims in different ways and in different situations. Those of suffer special needs. We are also victims of computer hacking. So this is taking a vast area that anyone could be able to share. And I would really, really appreciate that we come and share and listen also from other things, so that we continue this networking. And that's what we need each other for in academia. And in Kenya, we say karibuni sana. Welcome once more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Pam. Okay, Ibu Hani, actually, I have a question.
Yes, you can certainly ask a question, Wulan.
Okay, so I saw in your slide previously about a boy who likes to knit, merajut, but his parents forbid him to continue his hobby. In the future, what psychological problems may he may face? Maybe what will happen to his psychological state in the future if he has a case like that?
Oh, okay. Well, I cannot predict the psychological trajectories for that exclusions of boys from knitting or other feminine activities, but I can share you how he felt. He felt that he's not good enough as a man because he likes knitting, and then his masculinity got hurt. It means that he thought that he has to compensate his hobby of knitting, which is feminine, with a very masculine hobby. So people will not, we will not think of him as less masculine. And then he become self-aware of his masculinity. So he become very self-checking whether he is masculine enough or not. The way he walk, the way he talk, it's not natural. So he become very masculine in talking and walking, but it's not naturally him because he think that he has to do that to confirm that he is masculine man. So the way we taught young boys what he can do and he cannot do as a boy, it influenced the way he construct masculinity, the way he see him as a masculine being. And if we like say this is masculine enough, this is not masculine, and then when he want to confirm his masculinity, he will go to the direction of the masculine, even though probably he doesn't like it. And compensation for masculinity, for insecurity in masculinity is a lot. And one of them is in the case of domestic violence. There are a research that has been done in Solo, and it shows that men who have a tendency of doing violence to his wives are a man who has been hurt in terms of his masculinity, or a man who has insecure masculinity, and he thought that he has to compensate the lack of masculinity that he perceived with something that is hyper masculinity, such as violence. So it is very to me it is very unsettling when I know that a girl or a boy were taught gender stereotypes, because it will hurt their gender identity. It will hurt their sense of masculinity. It will hurt their sense of femininity. So we don't want that to happen. We want everybody, like a girl and a boy, love themselves, love their masculinity, love their femininity, so they can be a very functioning being. They don't have to look for any compensations. So yeah, that's what I can say, Wulan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu. I think it's related to the research that you have also done about the male teacher in early childhood school, which he taught his student not to cry, boy student not to cry, not to shout, just stay still and don't move, like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think we now Okay, we have another question from Miss Lesti, an alumni. I want to share. Okay, this is not a question, maybe. I want to share. I hope that gender stereotype education can be included in children's textbooks in elementary schools, because when I read my child's textbooks in grade 2 elementary school on the theme of hobby lessons, okay, the book gives examples of boys' hobbies playing bicycles and soccer, while girls' hobbies are dancing. I think it's very diversified and is no longer relevant to today. Do you want to say something about this?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Leslie. It is still our homework as gender scholars to reach primary schools and how to be able to contribute to the making or to the writing of school textbooks. As we know, like school textbook from Kemdikbud or from the ministry, they have their own team, and not I don't know whether they have a gender expert or not in the team, but I think we need to do a socialization that in every book writing for school, for school textbook, we need at least one gender expert to review the manuscript for the book. My project with Dr. Fina is not in primary school, but in early childhood educations. But maybe if there's a researcher here that is interested in gender and education, maybe they can work with us, with me and Dr. Fina, to develop a textbook for primary school. But then again, for the research, I think the scope is still very limited. We cannot reach it nationally, but at least we have 1 or 2 schools as the piloting projects. And then if this project is successful, I think there are going to be a lot of other primary school that is interested to use our books, like what we did in early childhood education. Our books, I send the books that we created through this research to my colleague in Malang, and then they asked us to distribute the books there too. So it became a snowball. We can start small, maybe in your school. Lacey, do you still teach? I don't know. Do you still teach in primary school? Maybe we can start in your school. And then after it's successful in your school, we can go to another school. So we start small and then become bigger. So that's my comment.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Hani. Maybe Miss Lesti, do you want to say something? Because I saw you open your mic. Okay. Okay, Ibu, I think that's it. Now I think we can move to reflection from the participants. Maybe you can share what you have learned from our topic today. Or simply share your experience. Anybody? Or should I choose? Okay, now I will choose. I hope you're ready. Mr. Lamin Maneh, Are you here with us? Mr. Lamin Mane, can you share something about our lesson today? Okay, maybe we can move to Mr. King Faisal.
Hello, can I share different experience? Lord Namaste.
Professor Pam.
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Okay, Professor Pam.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I think the first chance will be for Mr. King Faisal.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Mr. King Faisal, please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity once again. Listening to our lecture for today, strongly have concluded that when it comes to gender issues, due to its sensitivity, usually we need to employ the advice or the expert advice of our specialists or our intellectuals in this area, so that we can, most often than not, come up with best solutions to gender issues or gender sensitive issues. Because from this lecture, I could realize that there are certain embedded knowledge which needs really to be applied if things are to be done right. So I strongly believe each and every one of us will take this lesson very seriously and apply it in our professional life. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. King Faisal. Now let's move to Professor Pam.
Thank you. I would wish, but I'm on the road. If you're not clear, you'll ask me to repeat. I want to share my experience on what Dr. Hani said in the practical aspect. And if we give chances to both boys and girls, maybe that also makes us grow in a different way. I'm a family where there are many boys than girls. So when we grew up, there was no job. The chores were not separated for boys and girls. Even cooking, I remember even when we have guests, my brothers would be carrying food to serve men. My brothers would be carrying water on their heads as well. And we grew up with this. And I think for me, it has come from my childhood. And I just, as children come up, including toys. And I also grew up playing football. And also something different. In African culture, they say women don't whistle. But I grew up doing this because most of the time I hang out with my brothers, I hang out with other people. It's in that our context is different, you know, in the Christian community. We don't have a lot of limits, there's to some extent. So I would even go to a football match with Bryce, and I tended to associate. So I just want to reinforce that if we start this integration of responsibility of male, please help this, your ladies, even in the kitchen, you can tell them today, Mom, please sit and I'll serve you breakfast. And I think we can go a long way. And then if you have a son, you go with the son to the kitchen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Were you able to hear me?
Yes, Professor. Thank you very much for sharing your reflection today. Next, can we have Mr. Hassan Ismail to share your reflection for today's lesson?
Yes.
Okay.
First and foremost, I would like to thank the participants and the university and also our lecture today, Professor Hani. My understand today, I learned many things in this topics, the problems of the gender education in the world, also in different places. We learned gender stereotypes, problems with children, problems with gender stereotypes, such as shaping the gender and become social norms and sexisms, and also based or sex based discrimination of gender. As we know, as we are, there is many cultural in the world which are different places which are not allowed the females to educate or to interact with the people. These are issues and many problems to avoid the girls to study or to interact the community. That's the problem of the gender education. So that it is better to avoid the discrimination of the girls inside of the education and others, and to follow the orders of Islam, what Allah has, what Allah orders and the Sunnah Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to do, because females has rights and women and men have rights in Islam, according to Islam, to follow that. The policy of the global policy is for the human. It's good to follow it also. And in my culture, very sensitive to learn that the girls, and also to integration, make the integration of the girls, the community, but especially in males. That is beginning from a long time ago, but when I see many issues, many problems, it's coming from that culture. But today I got the problem is from male, also culture. Thank you very much. Also, my English very poor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hassan. The last maybe from domestic participant. Can we have Ms. Rahma Ainun to share your reflection? I think we cannot hear you clearly. We still cannot hear you, Ms. Rahma. Not yet. It's still not clear.
Maybe it's from the headset. Sometimes the headset's giving us trouble.
Okay, I think.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, please. Okay, please, Miss Rahma.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very clear now.
We can hear you.
It was clear.
It's clear.
before you mute it. Now you, yeah.
Hello?
Yes. Hello, Miss Rahma. Yes, please.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
First, thank you, Ibu Hani, for bringing this issue to us today, because I really got a lot of insight. I have a 6-year-old girl, and sometimes my family tell that she has some wild cita-cita. She wants to be a tentara. She wants to be an army. But now I know that the equity in gender can happen. So from today lecture, I know that I can start it from home to about the gender sensitivity. I can tell my girl about it, that she can fight for her future. Even though she's a girl, she can do it if she wants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bu Rahma.
Thank you, Miss Rahma. Okay, I think we have reached our end of our agenda today. So, ladies and gentlemen, along with that last reflection from Miss Rahma, it seems like we have come to our end of this section. Once again, it's such a pleasure to have Ibu Hani as our lecturer today. I hope we can meet again in the future when the condition is better, and we can learn from Ibu Hani not just through virtual meeting like this, but physically we can meet offline. Now, before we officially close this session, let's move to the photo session.
Okay, thank you so much, Wulan.
Okay, you're welcome, Ibu.
And thank you for everybody for listening to the presentation.
Thank you, Bu Hani.
Terima kasih, Bu Tina. Thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna take a picture, or if
Yes,
not, I will.
Yes, we will have photo session for the operator. Miss Ayu, can you help me?
Yes, sure. So everyone, we expect you to open your camera. We have 2 slides here, so let's go with the first slide. Show your big smile. 1, 2, and 3. All right, let's go to the next slide. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ayu.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So I can go now, Wulan. Bu Tina,
Yes, Bu Hani.
Yes, please,
apologize
Ibu.
because I still have
Thank you
another
very
meeting.
much.
Thank you
thank
so
you very much,
much.
Bu Hani. Take care.
See you
Palu.
all in Bandung. I'm going home. Yeah,
Inshallah.